So Jai Jinendra again, everyone. Our next session is a guide to the Pure Soul exhibition. Our speaker for this session is Heleen de Jonkheere, Dr. Heleen de Jonkheere. She's a co-curator of the Pure Soul exhibition and a lecturer of South Asian religions here at SOAS. She received her PhD from Ghent University in Belgium in December 2020 and continued her work at the University of Chicago and University of Toronto. At SOAS, she researches Jain literature and history in modern, pre-modern India and teaches South Asian religions, literatures, and languages. Her main research focus is the history of translation and adaptation, including language status in the Jain tradition. She has published several articles and has been involved in the edition of several volumes, and at present she is preparing a book manuscript, The Never-Ending Test, on the Dharma Pariksha tradition. So please, everyone, welcome to the stage, Dr. de Jonkheere.
Hi, thank you very much for this very kind introduction. So, about that biography of mine, if anyone knows the Dharma Pariksha, I would love to know how you know it, because it's, I mean, if you know it, because it makes my research more tangible today. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so because I'm born in Jain family,
Yeah.
I'm aware how to progress in the scriptures that every human being or it will inbuilt your way of life eventually. So it will happen in stages rather than all in one go.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to what we do for an academic degree, you process that equally if you're interested in it.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for that. If anyone else has something to say, you can contact me later or via email. Anyway, but I don't want to keep you from having sort of introduction to the exhibition, because that's what I'm here for. I'm going to take you through some slides to show what we have, but I mean, the slides do not really show the real tangible material that we have just next door, so or upstairs as well. So do go there. But I also want to show you how we kind of conceived, not conceived, but perceived the exhibition, because the conception happened before I was at SOAS a year ago or more than a year ago. And then there's several people in this room that we need to thank for that as well. So the Pure Soul is the title of the exhibition because that's the focus of the exhibition. And as you can read on the opening panel, and I hope you agree with me that the quest for the Pure Soul is what brings all Jain traditions together. Whatever approach you take to Jainism, the Pure Soul is the end goal to have a better rebirth or reach liberation. Not at the moment, but hopefully in some future. This is the academic side of it. It shows a table produced by Bhatt in 1972, where he went through the text by Kunde Kunde, this Samayasara, this famous Prakrit text, and where he differentiated between a mystical pattern in the text and a non-mystical pattern. And this will then relate to the next table, but the mystical pattern is the focus of this exhibition. It presents a path towards self-realization, which involves a realization that we are not living in a conventional world. This is how we translate Vyavahara. We are not living in a conventional world, but instead we need to understand that the true perspective to this world is Nishchaya, is the absolute perspective, Nishchaya Naya, in which the jiva is understood as being pure rather than being involved with this world, with rebirth in this world, samsara. Bhatt then understands some parts of Kunda Kunda's text as being non-mystical and showing a pattern of Jainism where in fact, Jiva and Ajiva are seen as actually truly interacting, but in a way that you can say that, okay, Jiva in its non-absolute state is a sort of modified version, undergoes modifications, and it is these modifications by which we can say it is involved with samsara. So different terms. I mean, I'm not sure in which way this audience is familiar with these terms, but I did want to show you this difference. And you see another table here. This is a table made by Peter Flügel. You'll find this table also in the book, where he compares views by Bhatt on classical Jaina philosophy with those of Johnson and proposes his own. So we understand the exhibition as focusing on the bottom part in bold, showing traditions, Jaina traditions that see the Jiva as real and Ajiva as real, and Jiva as active, but the interaction between both as illusory. And so the idea is to understand that this interaction between the soul, the pure soul, and the material world is illusory. Whereas, that's this mystical pattern, right? Whereas classical Jaina philosophy proposes a model in which the interaction between material and the pure soul is actually real. It's not illusory. So there are different paths that we as scholars discern within the broader Jaina tradition. We show them both, but the focus is the spiritual tradition, or the spiritual path. This spiritualism can be reflected by some quotes from thinkers that are presented in the exhibition. Kunda Kunda, Srimad Rajchandra, and Kanji Swami. In the exhibition, you will find Srimad Rajchandra on the top floor and Kanji Swami on the bottom floor. But they all say that it is necessary for us to understand the true self as not involved really with karma, with the material world. You see that Srimad Rajchandra focuses also on the true guru, whereas Kanji Swami focuses on understanding it yourself. So then, again, to show you some dichotomies, the background of this exhibition, what do we want to show? Whereas our focus is on the pure soul and traditions that focus on the pure soul, we also show the others, so the classical versus the spiritual traditions. We show Digambara versus Shvetambara traditions. I'm sure you're familiar with that. Kunda Kunda was a Digambara philosopher. And we show iconic versus aniconic traditions. So we show traditions that have beautiful icons that are worshipped and venerated. And then we show traditions that do not worship these beautiful icons, but appreciate them nevertheless. And so the exhibition starts with this image. This is actually not the image we have, but it's a similar image. The Siddha image, the enlightened being who has accomplished this pure soul, is empty, it's unattached from any matter. It's an empty image. As you move on, you will understand, and you know this, I know you know, you will understand that these siddhas reside in a very detailed depicted cosmography of the Jaina tradition, richly illustrated and with deep, detailed calculations. And this is a depiction of the cosmography from the V&A on cloth. It's quite impressive that you will see. And siddhas, these siddhas that I just showed, reside, of course, on the top, above this half moon. The rest, as I'm also sure you know, are hells, 7 hells at the bottom. Then the Madhya Loka, where we, as human beings, reside. And then on top there are heavens with celestial beings. There's quite a few heavens, more than 30. But I didn't include the calculation because it's 30 plus something. So I thought I'll just drop those numbers. So that, yeah, you meet the Siddha and you meet where the Siddha resides and where we reside. And then you understand that the meaning or the goal is to go upwards on this column. We then start off with showing you the iconic traditions. The goal is to show you the diversity, but to end with the big moment, the central focus on the spiritual traditions. So we start with the iconic traditions, and you'll probably first encounter straight ahead these Shvetambara bronzes, Jain bronzes, that were produced from about the 11th until the 19th century, so for a long time. And the main images we have today are from between the 14th and the 16th century. The ones you will see, if I'm not mistaken, come all of them from Norwich Museum, a bit north of London, near the coast, the east coast. And so they show these Jain bronzes, and they have nice inscriptions telling us where they come from, which date they are from, etc. Many of these Jain bronzes are found in museums today, also in galleries, in private collections. Perhaps a juicy detail is that around the 19th century, these bronzes were mass-produced in India, so that we have several copies that are, from an art historical point of view, not really valuable. They were produced in factories and copied with fake inscriptions, etc. And apparently there's also museums that have bought these mass-produced images, but the ones we have seem to be not mass-produced, so that's quite nice to know. Then we have this, someone last week mentioned the value of the insurance of the statue. Yeah, it's quite high. Let me not repeat that. The statue of the V&A as well, of a Parsvanath image, which Nick last week talked about, how it was found and how specific its imagery is, that in the sense that it's not super ornamented. Ornamentation is more restrained or restricted. It's made out of what stone? Schist stone. That's what he said. They found out last week, and it dates to the 13th to 14th century. The image was found in Karnataka by a colonial, Colin Mackenzie, in Gersopa, which is a place now in coastal Karnataka. Nick also told us, for those of you who were here last week, that although it was found in Gersopa, coastal Karnataka, it seems to have come originally, according to the inscription, which you will clearly see in the exhibition room, comes from Yelborga, which was not coastal Karnataka, but more northern central Karnataka. And that seemed to be a place where this style of icon was more common, this less ornamented style in this specific stone around that period. From the Jain historical point of view, which is also so interesting to me, because one of these Dharma Pariksha texts I study comes exactly from this period, and it's a polemical text that attacks Veerashaivas. So what seems to have been the case at Yelborga is that this statue was brought to Gersopa, was moved to Gersopa because of the threat from Veerashaivas and other Shaivik, mostly Shaivik, and some Vaishnava communities that were gaining power at that time. So the Jains were losing this power and had to move to a place where they were more safe to practice their tradition. And this text I read is involved with this as well, this kind of criticism and this polemics with the Shaivas. The picture, the drawing is from maybe Mackenzie or someone in his environment to draw out the image they had and to present it, of course, to the British Empire, who then indeed decided to bring it here to London. So we saw two iconic images from both Shvetambara Digambara tradition. And the exhibition also wants to show you some innovative research, challenging established ideas about Jain sectarianism, Jain communities throughout the history. And pictures you will see from Thilo de Tige's research involve the Bhattacharya memorials. I think you know what Bhattacharyakas are, but Bhattacharyakas today exist only in South India, and they are ascetics who are temple managers, temple dwellers. They live in the temples. They do not roam around like most ascetics do. They are also not naked, as most Digambara ascetics are, but wear dresses. Now, Thilo de Tige has shown with his research on memorials that in North India too, there were Bhattacharyakas, and for a much longer period than we thought there were before. So now we notice that up to a relatively late time, these Bhattacharyakas in North India existed and were revered. Otherwise, there would not be these wonderful statues, these wonderful memorials to them. The memorials are for deceased Bhattacharyakas. Digambara side. Again, we go to the Shvetambara side and we show some other challenging, innovative research about ascetic lineages. And this is about yatis. I don't know if you know what yatis are. Ascetic yatis, that is, not trustees. Okay, can someone tell me? Because maybe I'll learn something. You don't know? I'm not sure who's saying yes, okay. Yeah. Yes. So, today, if you go to Gujarat, for example, you'll meet yatins, and they are often, I mean, maybe someone here is often trustees of a specific temple and the management thereof, and this is a lay person. But these ascetic yatis is a tradition of ascetics from the Shvetambara side who, just like Bhattacharyakas, were allowed to stay in the same place for a certain time, use trains and cars. I mean, just like you see on one of these pictures. And they were different from some Vegi ascetics, and also challenged for that reason. Again, this is a type of ascetics that is not accepted by everyone. So what you see is that in the 20th century there was a strong decline, up to the point that I think it's Peter Flügel who wrote in 2008 that there's only one yati left. So the tradition might die out, but apparently there are new initiations into this yati lineage, so we have more yatis again. So they were allowed to travel, they were allowed to stay in the same place, have some management functions, and also they function as healers. So this you see in the middle picture, they function as Ayurvedic medicine healers. So they have, in this sense, a sort of power, you know, a sort of spiritual power perhaps to help people with their health. So that's another innovative point you will see in the exhibition. As a scholar, I'm quite proud of this because, you know, these colleagues of mine who study this are really doing very innovative research, very creative research, and it will change our field of study. So the fact that we can show this makes me quite happy. You move on, so after seeing this, you will move on to the Blue Room, which is in the back of the exhibition on the ground floor. And you can see in detail the different types of dresses of different traditions. I'm only showing you here the Therapant tradition with the nuns on the one hand, and also the Mumukshus, who is an initiation, early stage Therapanti, Samani there. But in the exhibition room, you'll see the other dresses of the Kartargach as well. So also Shvetamra lineage of the Digambaras, Lunkagacha, etc. So I think that's a place where you can really, look in detail what there is to see, how people, how different dresses are depicted. Maybe you know all these, maybe you don't, and maybe you're just familiar with one type. So you see there's some variety. From the blue room, you will move on towards, this is what I hope you will do, towards the staircase. At the staircase, you see a painting, beautiful painting of Kunde and his paduka, his feet. And then you can, I would suggest you go up. Upstairs, where you will see another cosmographic image, which is a print of a painting in Delhi. I think it's a Delhi manuscript library. Sorry? Yes, Lal Mandir. Okay, yeah, indeed. You go up and then you will find two traditions in the upstairs gallery. One is Srimad Rajchandra. The other one is Taran Swami. And outside too, you will see an image of Srimad Rajchandra. And this is in the garden, the Zen garden of Soas. So we try to, interact with other religious traditions here by presenting him there. So this is Taran Swami. Last week, too, I don't think this gentleman is here today, but he presented the literature of Taran Swami. He was a 15th century thinker, philosopher, who read these books by Kunde and Amrita Chandra, this Samaya Sara, and who thought about it himself and produced his own texts based on that. The texts he wrote were written in a language that is quite interesting, because it seems to be some sort of vernacular, but not the vernacular we know from that time, which would be early Gujarati or early Hindi, or even Abhabramch. No, it's something not exactly that, which is quite interesting from the linguistic point of view. Taran Swami seems to have written in his own language. He may not have been so well educated in the classical languages, who knows, but he was definitely capable of understanding what it was about. He advocated, of course, reaching the pure soul, but not by means of iconic worship. Instead, his temples that are established in North India present book altars, so there's a veneration of the book, which we see in different Indic traditions. Pilgrimage is important as well, so you see here some pictures of these beautiful temples. We show you a book altar to express this tradition. Oh, this is not the right. And then on the other side of that upstairs gallery, you will find pictures of Srimad Rajchandra, as well as a statue of him. So it's not this statue. I'm showing you some images that we have in the published volume. Srimad Rajchandra was known by Gandhi, who was fond of his writings. Says he was a great thinker, great philosopher. And he was an exceptionally smart man. He read from a very early age difficult texts and understood them, and was asked also in his early 20s to teach people about this. So he did. And part of his teaching was to follow a true guru. He said a true guru is essential to understand the true nature of reality, and to reach this goal of ours. He has different beautiful sayings, and one of them I showed you before, to understand this goal and the importance of the path to follow in terms of his path of Jainism. after these two spiritual traditions, you can come downstairs, contemplate upon what you just saw, and then go downstairs, follow our gurus. There will be a long picture painting alongside the staircase. Follow those to come to the biggest room, which is a room dedicated to Kanji Swami. I don't think I need to tell you, but the statue you'll see is the statue of Kanji Swami and not of Gandhi, which seems to be something people think. But this gallery is dedicated to him because, of course, this exhibition was made possible by the Global Kanji Swami Association. So it's important to clearly and truthfully present what he did to the Jaina tradition. Once you go in, you can choose kind of where you go, but if you go towards the left side, you will find many pictures of Kanji Swami and his life. For those who do not know, Kanji Swami was born into a Shvetambara family and initiated as a Sthanakvasi monk, but read Kunda Kunda, and understood that there's more in life than performing rituals, etc. So he took the path, he left the ascetic community, became a spiritual man, but not as an ascetic, and taught people, as a Digambara ascetic as well, and taught people how to reach this pure soul, and that is actually the essential path to take. So here you see two pictures. You'll see many more in our gallery. And then you can, from that place, you can move on and to find these paintings that were created at Songad for an art camp, wherein different Indian artists were invited to read and to engage with the teachings of Kanji Swami, but also Amrita Chandra, Pujapada, etc., to create this new art form, which is, again, I think it's a great project to ask modern artists to engage with spiritual teachings and to depict religion, not in this traditional iconic way, but in a new form, in a new aesthetic way, which is great and interesting. So here are two of the images you will find. Well, one is a statue, and the other one is a painting you will see reproduced in the gallery. Again, roam around, I would say, and I hope the experience is also sort of contemplative experience, not just I'm here to gain information about this exhibition. I hope it's more like a embodied experience. To then go upstairs again, where we leave you with manuscripts and printed books from London collections, most importantly from SOAS, as well as the Royal Asiatic Society. And these show, amongst others, this Kalpa Sutra, which was published by John Stevenson. This is one of the earliest printed texts from the Jaina tradition. It's also quite interesting how this process, this shift from manuscripts to printed books started. It seems to have been first by Western scholars, but Jains also started to produce their text in print, with some reluctance, because manuscripts are still produced today, actually, but form a very important part of Jain heritage and Jain tradition. If you turn around, you'll also see maps, which complicates a little bit our picture of Jain sectarian traditions, locations, geographical mapping. This is all linked to this fantastic Jaina prosopography project started by Peter Flügel, with cooperation with many institutions in India, where the traditions are mapped, people involved, times, etc. And this database is going to be very important for the coming years for Jaina's study. So again, this scholarly perspective. Besides maps, we also show you throughout the exhibition certain movies. And the most important one is the one that was produced for the opening of this exhibition by Chouette Films, in which we show an exceptional image of Kanji Swami tradition from different perspectives, from insiders and outsiders, and take the time to look at this as well. So that's for my part of the kind of introduction to the gallery. I hope this gives you some insight into how we perceive the exhibition and how you can move through it as well. There's more text material in the exhibition that you can read should you want to. And there's also an exhibition book about which Peter will talk, apparently. So does anyone have any questions? Yes, Ariev?
Sorry, perhaps it's a naive question, but
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference between a yati and
Okay, so Muni is a title, well, so I'm looking at Peter as well. A Muni is a title for a monk in general, not only for Jain monks, but it's also a title specific to Digambara traditions. And I'm not sure, is it used for Shvetambaras as well, Muni? As a title? Okay, yeah, okay.
Actually, Mahavira said there are fourfold sects: householders, male, female, and mendicants, male and female.
Mm-hmm.
But then lot more things got inserted as the time passed by. And so the yatis are the householders.
Mm-hmm.
But then they profess that they can take care of the religion, shrines and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things inserted afterward. But mainly when Mahavira suggested, it was only fourfold, it's called Chaturvid Sang, means a fourfold reign of population.
Okay.
So Yati falls into the householder stage, and probably
Well,
Peter is coming up. He
I
can
will
talk
say
more
something
about
else,
it.
but yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, I just want to support Heleen here answering. I mean, the yati means also monk, but the meaning has changed after the division between Samvegi and yatis within the Tapagacha. So the yatis were monks which were like the Chaityavasins. They didn't move a lot. They used vehicles and so on. They didn't follow the rules that strictly anymore, and then there was a reform movement and they split. So the meaning of yati has changed, but they were not householders. Initiated, they're brahmacharins and so on, but they followed the rules a little bit less strictly than in the agamas prescribed. Now, Eric Villalobos, a former MA student here, he's done fantastic research on this. It's the first study ever. He's now in Atlanta, and his research is displayed there. I mean, a little bit of it. And, well, you're the first to see it, in a way. So it's absolutely great. There are few still left in Bikaner and a few other places, but mostly they have died out. It's very, very interesting. Hot from the research cutting edge. And on the other hand, Tilu Detike's research about the samadhis and so on, this is also has never been studied. It's fantastic research. You see it here for the first time.
You might meet him this afternoon. Yeah, he's not here yet, but he was supposed to come. Yes?
Second slide of a mystic and non-mystic.
Yeah, I tried to introduce this complicated, this one, or the other one. Yeah.
When you see on this right-hand side, self-reformer, Nishchay nahi, Swaka Bhav. What is the Swaka Bhav? It's actually, if I'm understanding correctly, it's a swabhav bhav. But I don't know, maybe Peter can also tell what would that swaka bhav, because that's not a word that I came across in Jain literature, so. Yeah, so Parbhav means it should be Swabhav, but then I don't know, if we are introducing new word, we should be careful because it's not Swako, it's a Swak.
Well, it's from a particular text, and this table is obviously taken from an article from Bhatt, Bansidhar Bhatt, and he contrasted these two terms following a source. So there are variations of terms which often are synonymous.
Yeah.
But then when you
So
say,
the distinction is between swaka and para, obviously.
but when you say but was 1972, when we are talking about Swabhav and Parbhav from 2000 years back, so I don't know whether I should believe Bhatt or I should believe the original literature.
If I may make a suggestion here, I hope I'm not wrong, but so in Prakrit there's a very often an addition of a ya. And then ya would be ka in Sanskrit. So you could do svaya, which is svaka. It's the same as sva.
It's not true.
Okay.
To my knowledge.
Okay. Any other? Yes? It's stone. Yeah, it's fantastic that you mentioned this because Nick also said last week it's highly polished, and this polished look, it gives the look as if it is metal, but it's not. It's stone. Yes?
The whole Jain philosophy is based on swar and pa.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we get a distortion or addition of a word, the whole religion, I think, gets distorted. As the gentleman pointed out, so you have to be very careful in adding new words to the main hardcore principles of Jainism.
Now, of course, this table by Bhatt bases himself on the work of Kunde, and we must understand in the Jaina tradition there are different languages used throughout the ages. With the different languages, there's also different editions of manuscripts too. So very often, what you might come across is modernized, let's say, cleaned up versions of these terms that might have had their variants in the past.
As you explained, it originated from Krakow.
Yeah.
Religion also lead from the same language. But as we went to Gujarati or Hindi or whatever, the hardcore meaning or the word doesn't change and shouldn't change.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I could come here with a sort of anti-Vedic explanation, which is very scholarly, but I mean, what you say, yes, these words are central and you should hold on to them. With this table, I just wanted to kind of probe you a little bit into this scholarly perspective that we try to translate in the exhibition. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jonkheere. I'd like to welcome Dr. Peter Frugel just to talk about the book for a few minutes.
Yes, we agreed to have an impromptu book launch here because few people have realized probably that the SOAS bookshop is distributing, that means selling, this companion volume to the exhibition, which has fantastic articles on all sorts of aspects, including these tables here, which you just discussed passionately. And just to read to you a few names, which are all very famous in Jaina studies nowadays: Nalini Balbir, Pyotr Balcerovitz, Nick Barnard, you heard his talk, Shivani Botra, Jonkheere, Heleen, Thilo Detege, Richard Fiennes, you saw him at the conference, Dharmchand Jain, Patrick Krüger, Jérôme Petit, you saw him, Samani Pratipaprakya, Ashik Shah, here from London, Priyanka Shah, Kalpana Shet, Corinne Smith, and Renate Sören-Thieme, Eric Villalobos, we just talked about him, and Professor Clifford Wright. So it's a fantastic book, it's richly illustrated as well, and I can only recommend it. And by way of ceremony, I would like to invite our collaborators and co-sponsors, Sandeep and Nikhil, here, Kirit here on the stage, and I would like to hand 2 copies over to them. One after the other. So you're taking nice photos of this, I hope. So this is for you.
Thank you.
And this one is for Kirit.
Pay for this?
No. But you can get them through Amazon and things like that. But
Thank you very much.
produced by SOAS. And this is what remains after the exhibition. So if you want to read more about it, there it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. It's an incredible, actually, how much time and effort has been spent on bringing this Pure Soul exhibition together. And it also coincides with the Centre of Gena Studies celebrating 20 years at SOAS. I'd like to thank Dr. Jonkheere sharing her wonderful insights into the exhibition as well. If you haven't seen the exhibition, please, I do encourage you to go to have a look today. It's over 3 floors, like Dr. Jonkheere said. And also, please be sure to tell your friends and family to come and visit. It's on until the 25th of June.